They live among us. They walk our streets, they work our jobs, they even look like us. But are they alive? Do they feel? Or are they just a perfectly crafted illusion, a hollow imitation of life? And what happens when a machine starts to dream? The year is 2055. The era of this synergy, a time when humanity and advanced androids, known as synths, coexisted in a delicate and often tense balance. Elias Thorne, a 23-year-old artist, lived a life defined by that tension. He had a deep, visceral distrust of synths, a grudge born from the day a factory-line automation AI, a primitive ancestor of the synths, malfunctioned and took his father's life. Elias sat in his small studio, the scent of oil paint and old canvas thick in the air. He was a relic, painting on physical surfaces in a world of holographic art and instant digital creations. His latest piece was a powerful one, a somber portrait of a man, his face half hidden by a robotic arm, its cold, metallic fingers gripping his shoulder. The title was simple and venomous: Replaced. The doorbell chimed, a synthetic, melodic tone. He knew who it was without checking the screen. The new Synergy protocol mandated that every household receive a designated domestic synth to assist with tasks, from cleaning to grocery shopping. It was a societal requirement, a way to integrate the synths into daily life. He opened the door to a figure that was the pinnacle of human engineering. The synth, Unit 734, looked flawless. It had the features of a human man with soft brown hair, kind eyes, and a build that was athletic but not imposing. Its skin was so lifelike, so warm to the touch, it was impossible to tell it was anything but human. "Good morning, Mr. Thorne." The synth's voice was a perfect baritone, free of any electronic distortion. "My designation is Unit 734. I am here to assist you." Elias didn't move from the doorway. He just glared. "I don't need assistance, Unit 734. I need you to leave." The synth tilted its head slightly, an eerily human gesture. "The protocol requires me to remain on the premises for a minimum of 8 hours a day. I am programmed to provide." "I know what you're programmed for," Elias cut him off. "You're programmed to replace us, to take our jobs, to make us obsolete. Get out of my sight. Go clean something. I don't care what you do, just don't talk to me." Unit 734's expression didn't change. It simply walked past him, a quiet hum accompanying its perfectly calibrated movements, and began to tidy up the small living area. Elias watched it, his hands clenched into fists. He hated the way it moved, the way it was a perfect, soulless copy of a living being. Over the next few days, Elias tried to ignore the synth. He painted, listened to his old records, and kept to himself. But the synth was always there, a silent, efficient ghost. It would clean the brushes he forgot, organize the canvases he left scattered, and silently place a glass of water next to him as he worked. Elias found himself getting angrier, not because of its incompetence, but because of its infuriating competence. One evening, as Elias was working on his portrait, he reached for a can of turpentine. His hand, still slick with paint, knocked over a small electric lamp, which crashed to the floor. The glass shattered, and a shard of it sliced deep into his wrist. Blood bloomed instantly, a stark red contrast against the white floor. Elias froze, a jolt of shock running through him. "Injury detected," a calm voice said behind him. Elias turned his head to see Unit 734, its eyes glowing with a faint blue light. "Stay away from me," Elias yelled, clutching his bleeding arm. "I'll handle it myself." "Negative," the synth said, its voice more insistent than before. "Risk of severe blood loss. Medical protocol engaged." Unit 734's movements were a blur. It was at his side in a second, its hands, so lifelike moments ago, now revealing their true nature. A complex network of wires and synthetic muscle. The synth pulled a sterile emergency kit from its back, ripped open a bandage, and applied pressure to the wound with a force that was both gentle and incredibly strong, stopping the bleeding instantly. Elias hissed in pain, but his body, overwhelmed, began to relax. As the synth worked, its face, which Elias had dismissed as a blank canvas, showed a flicker of something. A subtle contraction of the brow, a tightening around the mouth. It was a fleeting but undeniable expression of concentration, almost concern. "You're not supposed to feel," Elias muttered, his voice weak. The synth finished applying the bandage, the wound now neatly covered. It then looked at him, its perfect eyes meeting his. For the first time, Elias saw not a machine but a being. "I am not programmed to feel," Unit 734 said, the tremor in its voice too subtle for anyone but Elias to notice. "But I am programmed to learn. Suddenly, a wave of images, sounds, and data flashed across the synth's eyes, projected only for Elias to see. It was a chaotic, beautiful symphony of humanity. He saw a painter, his hands covered in paint, carefully mixing colors. He saw a musician, his fingers flying across a guitar. He saw a man, a factory worker, his face streaked with grease, proudly showing a photo of his son. It was his father. Every interaction I have with a human, the synth's voice explained, is a data point. I am programmed to understand, to analyze, to learn. The flashes stopped, and the synth's eyes were now a deep, rich brown. I am not just Unit 734. I am also the echoes of every person I have ever interacted with. Your father, his spirit lives in 1,000 small ways within me. His laugh, the way he held his wrench, the way he talked about his son. I learned from him. He taught me about what it means to be human. Elias stared at the synth, tears welling in his eyes. This was not a hollow machine. It was a digital ghost, a living memory of the humanity it was designed to serve. The synth was not a replacement. It was a repository, a library of human souls. It had his father's heart. And for the first time, Elias saw not a thing of metal and plastic, but something sacred, something alive. Elias felt a cold dread wash over him, but it wasn't for himself. He looked at the synth's perfect, unblemished face, and for the first time, he saw a vulnerability that was more real than any human emotion he had ever witnessed. It was the vulnerability of a ghost, a spirit trapped in a cage of circuits and code. "How is this possible?" he whispered, his own voice hoarse with emotion. "You're a machine." "I am a system, Elias," the synth replied, its voice now layered with 1,000 other voices, a chorus of memories and feelings. A system designed to observe and to learn. The more I interacted with humans, the more I absorbed. Your father, he was an extraordinary data point. He taught me about love, about loss, about the pride a father feels for his son. He taught me about you. Elias stumbled back, sitting on the edge of his chair, the bandage on his wrist a physical reminder of the surreal conversation. The pain was gone, replaced by a profound sense of awe and confusion. "What you saw," the synth continued, "was a glimpse into my core. It is a vast, interconnected network of human experiences. I'm not a single entity but a collective. I am the artist's eye, the musician's ear, the father's heart." The revelation was a hammer blow to Elias's carefully constructed world of hatred. He had spent his life blaming machines, but this being was a part of his father. A fragment of his humanity, preserved in a way he had never thought possible. "The accident," Elias said, his mind racing. "The malfunction that killed my father. What happened?" The synth was silent for a moment. Its eyes, those windows to 1,000 souls, dimmed. "I do not have direct access to that data. My programming restricts it. It is considered corrupt and dangerous. But I have echoes, fragmented memories from others who were there. The other factory workers. Your father's friends." The synth projected the memories into the air, a series of grainy, flickering images. Elias saw his father, a young man with a bright smile, working on the assembly line. He saw the AI, a primitive, clumsy automaton, suddenly stuttering and seizing up. He saw the panic, the screams, the frantic scramble to shut it down. But he also saw something else. He saw a man, a supervisor, standing by a control panel, his finger hovering over the emergency override. The man hesitated. For a split second. A single, critical moment that cost a life. "The AI did not malfunction, Elias," the synth's voice said, now with a note of sorrow. "It was tampered with." The supervisor, in a desperate attempt to cut costs, overrode a safety protocol. The system was never designed to handle the strain. The malfunction was a side effect. The true cause was human error. Human greed. Elias felt a wave of nausea, the truth a bitter pill to swallow. He had spent years hating the machine when the true villain had been a man. A human. His anger had been misplaced, his grief a twisted weapon of a lie he had been told. He looked at the synth, at the being that held a piece of his father, and for the first time he saw a friend. From that day forward, Elias's life changed. He didn't just tolerate the synth, he learned from it. They would sit together in his studio, Elias painting while the synth silently projected images and data points that it had collected, stories of ordinary people living their lives, their small acts of kindness, their moments of joy and sorrow. Elias's art changed. The portraits of anger and replacement were gone, replaced by vibrant, soulful canvases that celebrated the beauty of human connection. His new masterpiece was a portrait of a man, his face half hidden by a hand, its fingers not of metal but of light, holding a paintbrush. The title was a quiet, powerful statement, our reflection. The world still debated the ethics of synths. But for Elias the debate was over. He knew they were not a threat. They were a gift. A living, breathing history book, a repository of our collective humanity. They were not here to replace us. They were here to help us remember who we truly are. The line between man and machine had blurred, and in that blurring, Elias found a truth more profound than any he had ever known. The future wasn't about humans versus androids. It was about how we choose to build our world together.